Today I've got a friend coming over from Birmingham. He currently lives in Washington DC in the States. He's in the UK visiting family. I used to work with this guy at a software company in Birmingham. As most of you know, I've got a background in software implementation and training in various roles, training roles, consultant roles. His name is Theodore. His background is marketing, so it was marketing where we used to work. He worked in Japan for 4 years as an English teacher on a Japanese teacher exchange program, so he's well versed, well travelled. He speaks Japanese and I believe he's learning some Spanish. From my perspective, I'm interested in getting his opinion of the shrimp room. He doesn't keep shrimp. He's probably never been into an aquatic store in his life, and if he has, he probably won't have seen the levels and the types of shrimp that we keep. Likewise the dart frogs, the isopods and the spiders, and we'll probably do an interview. Knowing Theodore, he'll probably be keen, or not keen, but he'll be happy to go on camera and we'll sort of have a chat. But hopefully it'll be fun, we'll have a good laugh, so let's see what happens. Hi everyone, as promised, this is my friend Theodore. So myself and Theodore work for a software company in Birmingham. Theodore was in marketing, I was in training and implementation. He's visiting the UK currently, so he's currently living in Washington DC in the States, and he's back in the UK visiting family and thought he'd look me up. So we have been chatting on WhatsApp, and he's had a look at my website. Obviously he's from a marketing background, and we've sort of chatted over some ideas. So I wanted to get sort of first impressions of a non-shrimp keeper in the shrimp room for the first time, and obviously Theodore knows me. So my first question, I suppose, to Theodore is thanks for attending, thanks for coming over to see me, and I didn't realise you were living in the States, which is a new one to me. And my first question really is, you've probably never been in a shrimp room or an aquatic store that sells shrimp, so I'm looking for your initial response and thoughts on what we've got in here, the animals that we've got in here, and what your first thoughts are really.
Well, it's a lot smaller than I first thought, because yeah, watching a couple of your videos, I thought, oh, he's got all this space, he's talking about all of these racks. It's probably like like a warehouse or something. So it was quite compact. It was like a bit warmer than the house. I noticed the temperature was a bit different, and just thought, yeah, it's all neatly set out as well. I quite like that. Yeah.
Thank you. So, having never seen probably the types of shrimp that we've got in here, what were your first thoughts on the shrimp and the variations that we've got? And probably, if you had a favourite, which would you choose?
Well, I was surprised they're kind of so small, because I thought shrimp were bigger. But in terms of the variety, I was like, yeah, it's really like diverse, lots of different colors, like slightly different shapes here and there. Some of them I can see like a fan tail that I think of shrimp, but probably my favorite ones, I think they're right behind you, the blue kind of ones.
So these are called blue bolts. So I've currently got these up on the website, so I am trying to cut down on the number of shrimp that I keep. I do want to keep some blue bolts, but I want to concentrate on the deeper blue colours. So rather than the lighter ones, I want to sort of genetically push that strain forward into the more deeper blues out of those. But they're a good choice actually. It was one of my first caridina shrimp that I bought. It wasn't my first, but it was one of the first I selectively went out and bought, So what are your thoughts on the spiders and the frogs then?
The spiders. Well, the spiders, I thought they're kind of chunky. I was expecting like yeah, like wide and long fingers, but they're kind of more compressed and kind of muscular. Yes. I think they're kind of cute.
They actually, those spiders, you can get them in the States, in various areas of the state. So Florida, there's they're all jumping spiders, so they're mainly, there are some variations, but they're mainly Phidippus regius, which is called the regal jumping spider. but within the regal jumping spider you get different locales. So I've got what's called a standard regal at the moment, and I've also got a Bahamas, which obviously the locale is the Bahamas, so they go across the Caribbean as well. And
wait, they jump across the islands as well?
They're just different locales.
Okay.
I imagine before the land masses split, that's where they were.
Okay.
I've also got a Rastafari, and I am waiting on I think it's a Florida. I might be wrong. I think it's a Florida. So I say they're widely spread across the states, and I know that people in the states catch them outside and keep them as pets. Obviously the temperature ranges in the UK aren't as warm as certain areas of the States and the Caribbean, hence why we have to have them heated and stuff. But I really like them. I was never a spider person. I was never the sort of person who'd have spiders, tarantulas and stuff. Never appealed to me, but they're so full of character that they've actually cured some of my arachnophobia, you know. Frogs then?
The frogs, well, I thought the frogs were kind of interesting because they are like got orange stripes, I believe, down their back.
They're cream, yeah. So they're a red with like a creamy white stripe.
I like that.
They're not. I do like my frogs. I am waiting for some. They're actually blue and yellow, the ones that I'm waiting on, but they're still tadpoles at the moment. So I am still waiting for those.
I liked when you showed me when you fed them. So you showed me the flies. I think on one of your other videos you mentioned something about tapping the case to stop them from jumping. So you actually, I saw that. That was kind of cool. You tapped it down and you poured a few into another jug that had like the white powder in it.
Yeah, the calcium powder.
Calcium, yeah. So then they wouldn't jump. And you just left them, and then they didn't go anywhere. And then you popped them in the tank, and it was really cool watching the frogs appear because I couldn't see them. They were like hidden. And then it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, they were quick as well, and you got to see at least three of them, I think.
And they grabbed the flies. That was kind of crazy because it's like the flies here, and then it was like, and I didn't even see it grab it. I just saw it move
really
towards
fast.
it. Yeah, that's cool.
It would be nice to try and get that on camera, but they're so elusive when you pull a camera out. But it is what it is, and I'll keep trying.
Yeah, keep trying. Let me know because I want to see that, like slow motion as well.
And finally, from my perspective, what about the isopods, the woodlice?
The woodlice. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about those. So I think the blue color ones of those I really liked because there's some that are like translucent almost, but there's others that got these beautiful blue colors, and some of them have like different colors. I think there was a red at two different sides, and then
ember bees.
Yeah, it's like amazing how different they are. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, and the woodlice. Who would have ever thought that you'd be keeping woodlice as a pet? You know.
Yeah, I just thought they were all grey. But
normally you lift a piece of wood up in the garden, it's got all these creepy crawlies on that you just go and put away. But we've actually started keeping them. Ironically, the invertebrate hobby has really grown in the UK. So stuff like isopods, spiders, mantis, praying mantis. Things like that, even scorpions, that hobby has grown massively. I think the appeal of the isopods is you can start a colony in a very small tub at more or less room temperature, so they don't use a lot of space. They're quite interesting to watch their behaviour and the different behaviours between those. So yeah, I quite like the isopods. They may get moved on to another rack once I've had a bit of a clean around, but okay. So thanks for that, Theodore. That's really sort of interesting, and I wanted to get a perspective of somebody who's not in the hobby or keep shrimp and how they sort of perceive things, you know, from an outsider looking in, which was really interesting. So over to you then. Have you got any questions for me?
Yeah, I was just wondering, how did you actually get into this?
Into shrimp?
Yeah, into shrimp. Like this, because it's more than just shrimp, to be fair.
Okay, there's a bit of an evolution here. So with regards to the shrimp, I've kept aquariums forever. I've always had an aquarium of some description in the house. I watched a couple of videos of some guys in, I can't remember the country, I do know it'll come to me, but they were doing what was referred to as aquascape. So instead of just an aquarium, it was a well thought out layout, planted aquarium with CO2 injection, intense lighting, and it was all about the plants and the aesthetic of those aquariums.
Right.
And I looked at it and with my experience thought, I'm going to have a go at that. One of the things within that is in the early stages of an aquascape, after being planted, you get algae, you know, it naturally comes. And one of the ways to control that was with what's called Amano shrimp. So Amano shrimp are known for their algae eating activities. So I found somewhere that sold Amano shrimp. It was a big pet chain. I'm not going to say the name of them. So it was a big UK pet chain that I'd never normally buy fish or shrimp or anything from other than dry goods. But cut a long story short, I bought 5 or 10 Amano shrimp and put them in the tank, and a few days later I noticed a little tiny red shrimp in the tank, a red cherry shrimp they're called, and he must have been a stowaway in the net. And then I noticed another one, so there must have been 2 of them, and I thought I need to get them some friends. So I learnt about caridina shrimp, cherry shrimp, bought a load of them, bred like crazy, set up another tank, different colour shrimp, set up another tank, different colour shrimp, and then I moved into the harder to keep species, so the soft water species. Initially, just as I want to give these a try, so I bought some mixed, or somebody sent them me actually, and one thing led to another, and then one rack led to another, and one tank led to another, and we ended up with 3 or 4 racks in the house, my wife moaning at me, telling me to get them out of the house, and we decided to sort of convert the garage into a shrimp room.
So how did you go from just keeping shrimp for fun to making it into a business?
So this is a bit of a strange one. Brexit made things quite difficult to get in the UK. I was quite financially stable at the time, wanted this is with me with everything in life, if I've got a hobby, I want the hobby to be self-sufficient, so the hobby needs to pay for itself. I had an idea of setting up a business selling shrimp products that are difficult to get hold of all in one place, and within that gave me another sort of 2 aspects to my personal life. One of them was to develop a business that would ultimately be my pension fund, and my other thought with that was I've got a son who's just about to turn 20, but when I set the business up, what I thought was that I could teach my son from my own experience in my business analysis roles within software companies how to run a business, and that's everything from procurement to marketing to accounts to stock management, and sort of teach him all of those valuable lessons, I suppose, that would sort of put him in good stead for life. Unfortunately, as many of my viewers know, my health took a turn for the worse, so I don't have an income anymore, and the business isn't a little side hustle. My son wasn't interested. If he does work, he wants money for it now. He hasn't yet learned the value of investing time and effort into something for a reward further down the road.
Yeah.
So that's how we sort of set the business up, and now the business, to a degree, I don't take a wage from the business and everything else I do associated with the business pretty much supports the hobby, and at this point in time it doesn't really support the hobby. It probably just sits under break even. Hopefully, as markets pick up and the cost of living crisis goes, we can sort of grow that, maybe take another premises, if it's cost effective and it's in the interest of the business and my own personal life,
So I'd say for you, it's a bit less of a business, but still it's more of a hobby right now. You love it. You actually love what you do.
Yeah, 100%.
So where do you see your shrimp breeding going? Like how the different types you want to get, or the numbers you want to have?
So I did a live on this recently. There was a few people went on a live, and it was just discussing sort of plans and what I want to do. So obviously you've already mentioned I'm sort of limited for space. You know, my space is finite, and unless I take over the house and get shot by the wife, that's not going to happen. So I could move the pod somewhere else and get another couple of tanks in, but ultimately I'm limited. So what I want to sort of concentrate my shrimp hobby on is not keeping so many different types of shrimp, but concentrate on some specific strains and start learning and pushing through some of the genetics to select the best and get my shrimp to a point where, you know, they could potentially be competition winners if we ever get competition in the UK. So that's sort of where I see the mine going. I'll probably keep a couple of tanks of Neo Caridina just because it introduces people into the hobby, and it's a good way for me to sort of introduce people to the hobby. But for regards of my softwater species, I think I'm going to go down from, I can't remember how many tanks I've got, so there's 12 on there, 4 on there, 16. There's 18 at the moment, potentially 20, and I'm probably going to go down to 5 or 6 different strains and have breeding tanks where I can select the best shrimp out to breed from for those genetics. So that's sort of where I see myself going, you know, and hopefully the market picks up, and you know, we grow as a business, and if we can grow as a business and move into bigger premises, then, you know, maybe lots of different types of shrimp again.
Which do you think you prefer? Do you love your spiders more, your invertebrates more, or your shrimp more?
First and foremost, it has to be shrimp, because ultimately, you know, we set the business up based around shrimp. I've got no plans on breeding spiders, because there aren't millions of spiderlings running all over the place. So the spiders are pets, and probably more for YouTube to get people interested in the business and sort of see what we're about and what we do. Likewise, I was only ever going to get 1 frog tank, but ended up getting 2. But that, I'm not going any further than that with the frogs, you know, and I'm not going to breed the frogs. If they decide to breed and raise their own young and there's a market and I can sell them, I'll sell them. But primarily shrimp. The isopods take up so little room and can breed quite prolifically, so potentially to sort of bolster the business and the hobby, there is an interest in the invertebrates in the isopods. So yeah, plans to sort of sell the isopods and maybe extend the range of products that we sell, you know, but most of my shrimp foods and fish foods isopods will eat because they're detrivores, you know.
Sorry, what does detrivore mean? Sorry.
A detrivore means that it will eat waste, so broken down plants, dead animals, you know. So fish flakes is ideal. It's a good protein source to give them. Rotting, you know.
That's the word detritus, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, like, detritus.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah,
I should know better than that.
Yeah, they eat waste. So
Okay.
we keep isopods. I keep dwarf ones in my frog tank, but they will eat the frog poo as well.
Right.
So they'll break down. You know, they eat through the soil. They break down rotting leaves. So it becomes bioactive because we've got stuff in there, the springtails, that will eat fungus and molds. We've got the isopods in the frog tanks that will break down the waste and eat rotting plant matter and stuff like that.
So basically what you've made is like a natural cycle that, like, things eat, they excrete, then something else eats that, so that it keeps it clean internally.
Yeah, I've got my spiders are bioactive as well, although I am moving them onto a non-bioactive. So if a spider eats a fly and the carcass of the fly falls to the ground, at the moment, the 2 spider tanks that I've got the bigger spiders in, the springtails within there will break down, you know, as the fly carcass rots down, the springtails will...
The springtails, are those the little white...
tiny white things,
okay.
Brilliant. So I know you love to learn and I love to learn as well, which is probably why I've got... the spiders were a distraction, the frogs were a distraction, the isopods were probably a dip into a business decision that I'm still on the fence with, but it's always going to be shrimp.
Yeah. Okay. Shrimp is what you love.
Brilliant. So thank you for that. It's been good, and obviously we've spoke before we did some of the filming, so I've sort of explained to you how I built the room and what we've done and the work that we did and stuff. And you're a brilliant listener, and I know you like to learn things, and I like to think that I'm a brilliant talker and like to teach things. So thank you very much for coming, and thank you for thinking of me on your trip to the UK and coming over to see me.
Of course.
And I suppose that just leaves me to wish you all the best. Thank you for coming, and when you do go back to the States, keep in touch.
Of course, yes.
I'd like to see you in the States when you get your own place and get settled with an aquarium in your living room, and messaging me saying, what do I do? What do I do? So that
They'll
that'd
probably
be
all die
interesting.
if I have one.
Oh, they won't. You've got someone who knows the score, so we can educate on that. So
Oh, thank you.
all that leaves is for me to say thank you very much, and thank you everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Something slightly different. Until next time, take care everybody.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye bye.